Good morning. My name is Ayer Collins, and today is July 15th. We are located in Ayer Hall, and I am interviewing Mr. Ronnie Crudup. And do I have permission to record this interview?
Yes.
Thank you. Can you tell me about your background and where you grew up at, and how old are you and your family?
I am originally from Jackson, born and raised, originally from North Jackson. Actually grew up in the North Jackson area. Went to graduate from Murrah High School, College of Belhaven. I am 39 years old. I have married with 3 children, and I now reside in the South Jackson community where I've been living now for almost 20 years. And so I work for New Horizon Ministries, Inc., my full-time job, and just try to be an advocate for South Jackson.
So what's your earliest memory of South Jackson, and around what date was it?
My earliest memory of South Jackson is probably about, I would say probably about 1990, I think. Our church had purchased the old Belvedere. Our old church was on Belvedere, but it was a church called Belvedere Church of Christ, I think. And our New Horizon, we had moved there. We were in North Jackson, but we moved to South Jackson about 1989 or 90, somewhere up in there. And we came to that property, and that's my first, actually probably encounter with South Jackson, is coming there. And I had never been on this side of town before. And so.
What were the rumors that you kind of heard about this all the time?
Well, I didn't really hear anything about South Jackson. I just never even just went to that part of town. Everything we had was pretty much out of North Jackson, so I really never had a need to go there. So I was still a young man. I think I was probably, probably about 11 or 12 then. So I ain't really had no thoughts about what could occur down there.
What is your experience now of living in South Jackson, now that you're older?
I've had a number of great experiences. After I finished high school, I did, start working down there. I lived down there now, my family. We've been down there. The house that we own now, we've been there 6 years, but I've had nothing but positive impact, feedback, friendly neighbors, wonderful people, and just a wonderful community.
Are there any specific events that happen in South Jackson that stand out in your memory?
That's a good question. I should have had time to think on that one. I really can't think of any one particular event, but I do know when my family, we first moved to South Jackson, bought a house. My dad moved us from North Jackson. I think that was about 92 or 93. I was still at Murrah High School then. We were pretty much the second African-American family on that street that we moved in, predominantly area by Wingfield. But I think a couple of years later, it's pretty much is a totally almost 95% African-American. So I don't remember a particular event, but I do remember just the changing that happened in those next couple of years like that, just on our street alone.
How long would you say, like months did it change, weeks?
No, I would say about a couple of years. I remember the guy next door, matter of fact, my neighbor next door, he was friends with the owner of Dairy Queen. He got me my very first job when I was in high school. I was 16, but it wasn't long before he moved. So I would say in about a couple of years, it pretty much changed on my street drastically. I would say in the next 5 years, probably the entire neighborhood had changed.
Can you recall any specific stores and merchants or any traditions that were going on in South Jackson around the holidays, anything like that?
Yeah, one of the big things I can remember is during Christmas, they used to have, in all the South Jackson neighborhoods, used to have Christmas lights. It was a big deal. You would see on Raymond Road, I can't think of the name of that neighborhood, but people would literally be all the way down Raymond Road at the closest amount of Allstate at that time, and literally just waiting to go to do their drive through these neighborhoods and look at the lights. It wasn't just the lights. I mean, neighborhoods had themes and all type of stuff. Even some of the churches participated in it, where you can drive through and go to see the nativity scene. So I remember during the holidays, Christmas holidays, exactly. It was kind of a destination place for people to come and see.
What were some of your specific favorite restaurants or family eventing places that you?
I used to like going to this place called Po Folks. Po Folks was a restaurant that was on Ellis Avenue. It was in front of the old Ellis Al Shopping Center. I remember it kind of being one of those places you saw a lot of folks come. They had some really good food, kind of an old traditional place, and I remember just being really fun of going there. My dad, we used to go there after church sometime, and I used to remember just waiting, sitting in line, just wanting to get to that place. And but that place ended up burning down, and they had a guy that actually held himself hostage in there one day, and you know, did some shootings and things like that when they closed, and he burnt himself down in that place. So, but I used to enjoy going to there to eat.
Where was that located?
On Ellis Avenue, right there where the car wash is now, there was a restaurant called Po Folks that sat right there at one point.
So I know you moved to South Jackson after integration happened with the schools, but can you remember anything about the schools in South Jackson?
Well, I didn't go to Wingfield. My sister and my brother did. They went to Wingfield. I remember specifically my 11th, like I said, it was about my 11th grade year we moved to South Jackson. I remember telling my dad, please don't make me go to Wingfield. You know, at the point, and it wasn't anything to do with Wingfield, it was more to the point of doing it with, when I was in Murrah had a great tradition of winning and basketballs, and it was just a fun place to be. And all my friends with this, I just didn't want to leave, so I didn't have to leave. But I do remember Wingfield being known, highly for their baseball and soccer, because that's a predominantly sport that a lot of Caucasian whites play. And so I remember they had really good baseball teams. Matter of fact, when I worked at Dairy Queen, a lot of the guys at Dairy Queen, who were my age too, working, they all played baseball for Wingfield. And so I do remember that during that time, Wingfield was a pretty, school with a lot of whites at that point.
You said you worked at Dairy Queen. Did you work anywhere else in South Jackson?
So yeah, pretty much all my working career has been in South Jackson. Okay. My first jobs at 16, I worked at Dairy Queen, worked there for 2 years, where the Subway is now on Terry Road. That was Dairy Queen. I later graduated from Murrah, and I started working at Domino's Pizza. And I worked at Domino's Pizza for a number of years. I actually kind of while in school some too. And after that, I worked at UPS. Worked at UPS down off McDowell Road, and after UPS, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club over there on Sykes, and so and New Horizons pretty much been since that. So all my working career has always been down in South Jackson.
So you've been there for a while, and you know how much it has changed. So how would you say it has changed over the years since you've been working there and living there?
Well, you can see the change of the just of the folks who were there. I mean, when I first moved there, like I said, I think it was pretty much about, I would say 80. I would say maybe either 80 or 90, 10, 20, predominantly white. And now it is, totally flipped. I would say the same, pretty much like 90-10 now, African American. And so I see that has changed. I see a lot of the stores that have closed down. When I was coming up, you had a lot of stores, not saying a lot of big stores, but you had a lot of small shops, from small shops at Apple Ridge to on McDowell Road, just all kind of things. You had a lot of churches that were doing stuff, and things have changed. I know one of my fondest memories is I remember on Friday and Saturday nights, McDowell Road was kind of like a speedway, a drag racing kind of street. You see all the guys with their cars, and they'll be at the gas stations, kind of set up to see who's kind of going to be doing the races. So I remember kind of seeing some of that stuff growing when I was, during that time. That it's really changed now. I guess the economic values of it, powers that be, it doesn't have the funding like it used to have. So things have just really deteriorated, and this is where it is.
What would you say your specific experience with white flight is in South Jackson?
Well, what I've seen from my experience has been a little different when I see the kind of the white flight. I've dealt with a lot of older whites, because we do a lot of, we buy a lot of houses in South Jackson, and most of the folks who called me have been pretty much older whites in their 70s and 80s, and one that even in their 90s. And so them moving was more of trying to move to a smaller place. Even some folks said, I just want to go to a nursing home and things like that. And so that white flight was, from what I've experienced, been more of just kind of aging out. Now I know, like I said, when I first moved there, I know there was my neighbors, the white flight that happened there was more, they just looking, I guess, to get out of the area, not want to be in the same neighborhood as blacks. But the one I've dealt with most recently, just kind of hands-on, has been the one where this older folks say, I just really gotta find a different place to stay. I remember my own house that I purchased myself. I purchased it from a man in his, I think 70s, either late 70s or early 80s, and it's an upstairs house, and he just said, I just don't want to get to the point where my parents were. He said his parents got too old that they couldn't go up the stairs anymore, and he said, I just don't want to get to that point where I can't even get upstairs anymore. So he and his wife moved. Matter of fact, he died probably about 6 months later, and so that was pretty much a great move for them to do that. So that's more than what I experienced.
In 2005, what I've kind of been hearing from other interviews is that a big change happened to the area with Katrina, people moving into